Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of Where I Went Wrong. In this video, I'll be doing Where I Went Wrong, UFC Vegas 40 edition, or you can say UFC Fight Night, Ladd versus Dumont. So again, for the people that still aren't caught up yet, and even for the people that are caught up and know, again, this is something temporary, but so far it's still been holding up. When it starts to not hold up, I'm gonna drop this series, but for the people, that's for the people that do know. For people that are still unaware and commenting before they even listen to the video, laughs on you for whatever the case is, for whatever reason you didn't like. Every time I see this guy, he's wrong every single week. Like, are you even watching the videos? Are you even keeping up? Who are you? But yes, for those people, I went 7 of 10, 7-3, 70%. Pretty solid for everyone that's not a mook or goofball or brain dead or whatever the case may be. 7-3 is really solid. Is it perfect? No. Is it like super substantial or anything like that to do a backflip over? Not really, but 7-10 is wild out. It's definitely something you can pat your back on and be like, damn, that was a pretty solid card. That's good. That's passing. That's more than passing. That's great. I mean, good, not great, but good. It's good. It's perfect. Pat yourself on the back. Not backflip levels. Not run home and sprint, take your clothes off and run into the sunset. Good, but not too far off. And I really feel like that should have been 8 of 10, but it is what it is. But now to where I went wrong, and like with this video is what I'm doing now more so, is focus on where I actually went wrong and not just trying to do necessarily a full recap. But I'm gonna do a brief recap here and there for some fights, but mostly I'm gonna focus on where I went wrong. So 7-3, let's look at 3, and I only feel I really went wrong on 2. And for similar reasons, very much similar reasons for those 2. But I'm first gonna talk about the other fight I lost, the third fight, which was me versus Roberts, and I feel like that fight really played out just how I expected it to play out. I thought it'd be close. I'm not like even though I'll be picking Ame a lot, and I feel like he's trustworthy enough and whatnot. I still feel like every single time I watch a fight, I'm getting less and less impressed with him, and this see him not being the fighter I thought he would be. But I don't know. He's still fighting. He can still improve. But as far as where happened with that fight, again, I feel it played out as much as as I thought it would be. I feel like Ame would control the fight. He did. I feel like he controlled the striking. I feel like he controlled the grappling. He had more takedowns. He landed more shots, and he landed the heavier shots. And he landed the heaviest shot. He landed the most significant shot. So first round was pretty clear. I feel like second round was pretty clear for me. Third round was a little bit of a toss up, but I don't know why they gave it to Roberts. But the judge is going to judge, and that's just a factor in MMA. So I can't feel wrong about a poor judging call. It was in the case of Roberts being for such a clean performance and just showed me something that I did not see. Everything I saw was what I foresaw. I felt like Amif had, he could control the wrestling and the striking. Not like Robert was going to blow him away necessarily in the striking category. Matter of fact, he got off-struck by Amif. Amif landed the harder shot. So I don't know what the judges were saying, but they leaned it to Roberts, and Roberts got a hand raised. But one thing I will say, I know a guy on here. He subscribed to me on here. Follows all my videos. We talk on Twitter pretty frequently. And he does have this interesting anomaly in MMA where you're coming off a split decision victory or a close fight. Then in your next fight, it's like a 65, 70% plus chance that you're going to lose your next fight. So even though Amir really won the fight and whatnot, no matter what the case may be, that freakish anomaly has a very high success rate where if you're coming off a split decision victory, you're likely to lose your next one unless you're just some super stud phenom or, just so much better than your next opponent, or you're just that guy or whatnot, or that gal. But so again, the anomaly strikes again. Even though Meave clearly won that one, the anomaly strikes again. But expect the anomaly to play against Roberts the next one, because this is a fight he should have lost. It was a very close fight. But again, a fight he should have lost. I definitely see him losing the next one unless he just fights a bum or a guy that just stylistically favors him heavily. But either way, enough of that anomaly talk. I just feel like it was clear that Amib won that one, but judges saw it the other way. Now to the 2 fights I did lose. I did lose that one, but the 2 fights where I feel I actually had a clear, where I went wrong. I clearly went wrong, and it's very similar for both ones. So with those 2 ones, it was the Klein. So I'm gonna say it was Klein and it was Godinez. And both were 1-1 going into this fight, and I put both of them as locks for whatever reason. I think with Godinez, it was the fact, come off that performance she just had like a week ago, and then not being high on Luana Carolina, especially her jiu-jitsu. And then so it was a lot of recency, and just not having been all that high on Luana Carolina. That's as simple as it was. And then also, it was such a short notice fight with like 2 days, so I just really quickly threw that out there. without really looking into it. Then she was on a huge height disadvantage, huge reach disadvantage. She was coming up from 115 to 125. It's not like she was fighting another 115 pounder on short notice. She was jumping up with like 10 pounds to fight another woman. And she came in under the weight class. And like she looked good the first round, but eventually Carolina started to get her timing down and just start using size and reach on her, use her length on her. And Godinez was just coming up short. I mean, she did get some decent control time beginning in the fight, but never to the extent she did in the first round. So yeah, it was just a case of where yeah, with Godinez, I should have. With Godinez and Klein, and 1-on-1 fighters, why are you putting locks on 1-on-1 fighters when that's really reserved for fighters? Either there's just such a skill disadvantage or a bad matchup or a great matchup for who you're picking, or it's a fighter that's truly proven and they're going out there and also with good research and study along with already being like a solid fighter you're picking in this one. That's what it's reserved for. It's not reserved for fighters who are 1-on-1, still really unproven, really untested. And yes, both of them are solid fighters, Godinez and Klein, but neither of them are really, like I said, proven and tested, like just yet. Like they need a lot more wins, and especially at 1-on-1. This is simply to say 1-on-1. That's all you need to hear. Like they should never be locks. And I made them locks, and I made that mistake before in the past with fights, and I made it on this card. But again, still managed to come out 70%, but made the same mistake actually twice in one card with two different fighters. So with Klein and with Godinez. So on Godinez, like I said, I didn't acknowledge that she was coming up in weight. Didn't acknowledge that. Overlooked that. Didn't look at the height and reach. Overlooked that. I was so caught on the fact that Carolina got submitted by Ariane Lipsky, whose wrestling can be a bit questionable. Her grappling can be a bit questionable, especially on the bottom. But it was not a good look for Luana Carolina to lose that fight. But she did improve on her grappling in the Poliana Bathello fight. So it was things to look at. So she was bigger. She was improving on her grappling. She's never been a poor striker. And she's going to have a height and reach advantage. It's and size advantage. So she's fighting a much smaller woman. So shouldn't have been a lock. I still could, it's no issue with me leaning to Klein and Godinez, because I feel like still, even with all that being said, they still were solid picks on the card and solid people to pick. But they definitely weren't locked here at all, because 1-on-1, and on Godinez's side, she's coming up in weight, give him a lot of height, give him a lot of reach, and give him a lot of size. So shouldn't have been a lock. Then Klein on the other side, solid fighter. I did see he has decent wrestling defense and decent wrestling offense, and it's not like Landwehr's takedown offense is all that great. So I feel like it could be a striking matchup, and Klein can tag Landwehr all day. So not bad necessarily intel or bad research or bad to pick Klein, but to pick him as a lock, especially as a fighter that's still on the feet, still pretty much a one-trick pony. And even if you person is hittable is I don't know, I don't know where I'm going with that, but even if the person is super hittable, they know what you're gonna throw and what your big move is. It's easy for them to get out of the way of it or address that move. So definitely shouldn't have been locked. Not wrong to pick Godinez, not wrong to pick Klein. Like I can pick them 1,000 times again. But the issue is putting them as locks for 1-on-1 fighters who are unproven and tested. That's as simple as that. And but good performance from Landwehr, good performance from Carolina. But yeah. So on I feel like Godinez, her stocks don't really drop too much for me, because like I said, she took it on short notice. She's coming up in weight class, fighting a bigger, longer fighter. And then on the other side, yes, I'm not feeling like Godinez drop, but I feel like Klein definitely drops. Like you start to see, even though it already was known that he was kind of a one-trick pony, this fight really exposed him for a one-trick pony. I feel like Landwehr's stocks go back up. I'm still not super high on Landwehr at this point. I'm not going to say he's going to do anything in the division. He's probably going to be a fun, exciting matchup in the division. Probably hug the middle or hug the bottom of the division. I don't see him really ascending. Kind of see him being stuck in one spot, but providing exciting fights. But yeah, but I think he definitely took advantage of a one-trick pony, and one-trick pony, a guy that loves the kick, loved a little high kick from Klein, crowded his space, that kick not really there as much, and just took advantage of it, feasted on him. So solid performance from Landwehr. His stocks go back up. He extends his UFC contract a little bit. Klein on the side, he got to start to really question himself. Like he got outstruck by Trezano, was turned into a wrestler in that fight. And in this fight, Landwehr just crowded him, tagged him up, choked him out. So you gotta address him then. He gotta flesh his game out and not be as predictable and work on himself as his overall MMA skills. Because right now it's looking like his contract is definitely in jeopardy. But now that's my 3 losses I went on. But now I'm just gonna focus on a couple of fights here and there. Jim Miller fight, when just is expected to an extent. I'd expected a first round submission guillotine from Jim Miller, but nonetheless, he picked apart Eric Gonzalez, and some people would just pick Eric Gonzalez just because he was young. But for those people, why are you picking Eric Gonzalez just because he's younger? I know Jim Miller is fading, but when you look at some of the people he lost to, a lot of people he lost to, Jim Miller's not really a guy that's picking his fights or trying to get easy wins. He's not. He's saying, who wants to fight? I'll fight you. And I guess that's the same extent with Eric Gonzalez. Yes, Eric Gonzalez was easy money, but it's still that uncertainty and the fact that Jim Miller's like, whoever wants to fight, I'll fight you. So Jim Miller is not like a case Jim Miller saying, who's the easiest guy I can beat? I'm gonna fight you. That wasn't the case. So along with the loss, look at who he lost. He lost to Dustin Poirier, beast. Lost to Anthony Pettis, former champion, still somewhat a beast. Not is a beast least he once was, but still very much a beast. And Anthony Pettis, messing his name up a little bit. Lost to Charles Oliveira, who's the champion now. He maybe got one or two questionable losses in there, but for the most part, he has been losing to the very best guys. Even in his twilight years, he's still fighting the very best guys and still holding a good account for himself. Had Dustin Poirier limping and stuff. And that, I say limping, but had Dustin Poirier limping in that fight. Definitely was, fully not competitive in that fight, competitive in the Anthony Pettis fight. Charles Oliveira fight was not competitive, but still, nonetheless, the man has not been fighting cans and still been holding up pretty well. And Eric Gonzalez had no actual angle for him to even win that fight. Couldn't out-grapple him, couldn't out-strike him, and got knocked out. So pretty much spot on. As far as analysis, just not the submission. But nonetheless, Jim Miller was just far above him in skill in every single facet of the game. Experience, skill, power, technique, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, every single area he was better than him. And he made him look, he just showed that to be very evident in that fight. So Jim Miller was spot on. Now I'm gonna just jump to the Arlovsky versus Carlos. I said, what's his name? Carlos Felipe. Yeah, Arlovsky versus Carlos Felipe. Pretty much played out adult. Carlos Felipe did, like I said, another one of these generations with these fat. Well, another one in this generation of heavyweights where they just fat, sloppy, and just want to swing big shots and trade in and want to be boxers. Like they can't box for real, they can't kickbox for real, but they'll come into MMA and look for those big shots, look to knock people out, look to stand and bang against people who aren't really strikers and knock them out. That's all they are, until proven otherwise. And that's what it was. Like, he did have some success when Arlovsky got tired, but other than that, Arlovsky was skill and experience, and Arsenal was just too much for him. Man was hitting the air trying to draw out a dogfight from a guy that's like pushing 50 in Arlovsky. And Arlovsky's like, maybe in my younger years I might engage in that, but Arlovsky been knocked out like 20 times. So he learned his lesson way more than he needed to have learned that lesson. So, of course, he's not going to engage with a younger, maybe heavier hitting fighter, more durable fighter in a dog fight. I mean, he's not going to do that with probably even an older fighter. He's going to stay on. He's going to stick and move, point fight. And if the finish materializes, he's going to, presents himself, he's going to capitalize on it, but he's not out there taking very many risks. Man's, like I said, I'm exaggerating by pushing 50, but he was like 42, 43, 44, so might as well be pushing 50. So he ain't going to be engaged in that. Third round was a little bit scary, but just for the fact that Arlovsky was fatiguing. The decision was a little bit up there, but I feel like it was pretty clear that he won the first two rounds. Third round probably could have went to Felipe, but even then probably could have went to Arlovsky. But good one from Arlovsky. Decision, so it was perfect. And I feel like it played out just perfectly. Maybe, all things considered, pretty much perfect. Like, flat out it was perfect. You just look at the fighter, the method, decision, how it played out, decision. Obviously can't predict every single little bit of the fight, but literally probably everything but probably 0.1% was perfect. So the Arlovsky fight went perfect. Then the main event, Dumont versus Ladd, or Ladd versus Dumont, was pretty much perfect. Matter of fact, even more perfect than I expected. I thought Dumont would start to fade a little bit more. I thought she would win the first two rounds pretty good. I thought like the later rounds, they'd be more tight. They were tighter, but I thought they would kind of lean more clearly to Ladd, and Ladd would have more success with her grappling. Ladd would actually be competitive in this fight, but at really no point was she really truly competitive in that one. So I feel like Dumont will slow down, but still will be competitive. I feel like early on she would be, just lapping her really, just be clearly the more technical, sharper striker, bigger, stronger woman, control the fight. Like what she did through the first 3 rounds. But I did thought once she started to fade, I felt like Ladd would come on more, but she didn't come on more. Like Ladd just showed that she's not who we thought, or who a lot of people thought she was. Like I already felt after the Jermaine Durandamy fight and the Yana Kunitskaya fight that she wasn't who people thought she was. Like after those fights, even though she beat Yana Kunitskaya, she was not looking good in that fight. And then 2-3 year layoff, But she still got like women's MMA still those divisions like 145, 135 are still very open. She's still very young. She could improve, but as of right now, she is not who people thought she was. So, Lag got to go back to the lab and work on some things and improve upon herself. Dumont definitely looking impressive. I question if she can beat Holly Holm or put up a good performance against Holly Holm, but hey, she's improving. She's looking good, looking sharp, and she's rising up the division. Like, so she can be a factor at 145 or 135. My lips dry as the mug right now, but it is what it is. But yeah, she could do rise the division at 145 or 135, however she wants to take it. I still think she's like 2 or 3 years off from fighting Amanda Nunes, but the fact is, like, the division is so dry at 145, like completely dry, that she's already could get a title fight without even having to fight Holly Holm at 145. Now 135, there's also really nobody there. So like you got to fight Holly Holm out at 135 or 45, because like literally they're both in the same. 135 and 145 might as well be the same division. Like the people that are relevant in both divisions are bouncing between 145 and 135. So like champions Nunes at 145, champions Nunes at 135. You got to fight Holly Holm at 145. You got to fight Holly Holm at 135. So like same division might as well be like, is it your preference? Do you want to fight Amanda, get beat up by Amanda Nunes at 135 and have her cut some weight? Or do you want to have Amanda Nunes be able to have a chill camp, not really have to cut no weight, and then come and beat you up again at that 145? So she ain't really got much options. But so either way, she could try to fight Holly Holm, which she has a more winnable chance of beating. But even at this point, I just feel like Dumont definitely has skills. I definitely see her evolving, but I still feel like she's 2-3 years off of where she needs to be. And I feel like maybe 2-3 years she would beat Holly Holm. Even the Holly Holm of now, she would beat her maybe in 2-3 years with some improvements on working, because I definitely see her evolution. But as of right now, I don't really see it just yet. But again, that's a problem with the women's MMA. Or I say MMA. The problem with women's MMA, the 145 and 135 division. Nunes just has run through everybody. It's not like she has a wealth of great opposition or people that can really test her. So you quickly, once you start winning, you put a couple wins together, you already got to fight Nunes. You don't really get that time to develop. Like you're fighting her quicker than you should fight her. That's good for Nunes, but not so necessarily good for competition. And it's not kind of bad for Nunes as well, because then people saying like, this is who you fighting, this is who you fighting, that's who you fighting. But you're like, what can I do? I only can fight who they got in front of me. Yes, they aren't giving them time to fully develop. I'm fighting them before they hatch. I'm fighting them before they get seasoned up. But that's all they got there. What I'm gonna do is sit on the shelf for 3 years and wait for them to get better? Nah, I'm gonna beat them now. And then come back, I'm gonna beat you now. Then maybe I stick around for 3 years, then you better now, and you fight me in a rematch, and maybe you could beat me. Maybe you could give me a good opposition. But that's the dilemma that Nunes faced. That's the dilemma that her opposition at bantamweight, women's bantamweight, and women's featherweight face. Really, at this point, women's featherweight should just get scratched, because nobody really want to even fight there unless they really want to jump and rush to a title shot against Nunes. 135, you want to work to fight Nunes. 145, you want to fight one fight, get one win, and fight Nunes. So it's like, what's the purpose? Just so Nunes could keep flying in 2 belts that are really the same weight class at this point. At one point, matter of fact, only time ever really was relevant was because Cyber was there. And then once you beat Cyber, who prior to Nunes was the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time, before Nunes beat her, that was the big thing. Like, it was to take that belt from Cyborg, take that lineal title, and like, yeah, now I'm the GOAT. And now the division's worthless. It's just there. But 145 women's MMA needs to be scratched until said otherwise, because right now it's just trash. It's just there. But yeah, I'm off. I'm gonna go into a different topic. But at this point, again, this is wrapping up the video. Went pretty perfect on pretty much all my picks, 7-3. Shouldn't have locked on those 2 1-1 fighters with Klein and Godinez. Ameve, I can't be mad about that one. Well, I can be mad at the judges, but as far as my prediction, y'all can't be mad at me for that prediction. I can't be mad at myself for that prediction. The judges are going to judge how they want to judge, and the fight just lent the other way. Ameve is who I thought he was. Roberts is who I thought he was, but the judges just had other plans. And that's the video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.